They gave me attention. They put me on a pedestal, told me what I wanted to hear. They was always showing up. And I know it wasn't for me now, but at the time, that's all I ever wanted, is for people to want me,
Yeah.
So that's what really got me hooked into drugs for a long time. And then, of course, selling drugs only lasts for a little while for anybody who does them.
What's going on, everybody? My name is Mel, and welcome to Life Coaching by Mel. We're here every Wednesday at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. So if you're new to the channel, feel free to hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell so you can get each of my videos. Hit the like button for me. Hit me in the comment section. Let me know what you think about this topic. And be sure to share it with at least one person or everyone you know. Do your boy a favor. We're trying to help the channel grow, and it's doing pretty well, but we definitely would love your support. What I love to do on this channel, ladies and gentlemen, is bring individuals on and allow them to tell their story. My story has been on this channel a lot, and I resonate with a lot of different people. But there's also stories out there that may not resonate with me directly. It may resonate with a lot of my audience members out there. And I believe this one here does. It's a good buddy of mine. I've recently come in contact with a guy by the name of Cody Hale. How's it going, my brother?
Doing good, man. How are you?
Well, I'm doing well, doing awesome, man. I'm so happy to have you on. Cody and I met at a spiritual retreat called Quest Life. And when I tell you one of the most amazing weeks of my life, but also met some of the most amazing men that I can ever ask for. Cody was one of those. Cody was the jokester and had all of us laughing all week long.
Okay.
But along with that, man, you shared a little bit of your story with me. And I'm talking about pierced my heart. We saw God through you throughout the whole week. So what I want to do, Cody, man, I want to allow you space, opportunity to share your story. You have the floor. Go for it, my brother.
All right. Well, obviously, I'm Cody, and I grew up a little different than a lot of people did. I let's see here. I guess I'd say that my parents were babies having babies. So what comes with that is I'm not even sure they were in a relationship whenever they had me. So they were living their life. They partied and they didn't really have room for a baby, but they got one. So I stayed with my mom for the first little bit. And then my dad, he was out doing whatever he does. And then my grandparents used to babysit me. Then one day she just dropped me off and never come back. So I was living with my grandparents. And then they ended up getting divorced. So I was just bouncing around everywhere. So whenever that happens, you tend to feel like you're a burden, And all you really want as a child is for your mother and your father, to be interacting with you, love you, show you the ropes. And I didn't really have that. So with all that being said, I started making poor decisions, Never really knew who God was. I didn't really know, like, if I did do something right in my life, it was no different than doing something wrong in my life. Like, nobody noticed, nobody cared, like, I could make straight A's and it was no difference than making F's,
Yeah.
And I don't know. So I didn't really try to do too good because it didn't really matter. So when I got older, I got into drugs. I was real bad. I went to prison over it. But what really got me started on the drugs is, like, when you sold drugs, everybody loved you. It was fake love, but it was the only love I really knew. They gave me attention. They put me on a pedestal, told me what I wanted to hear. They was always showing up. And I know it wasn't for me now, but at the time, that's all I ever wanted, is for people to want me,
Yeah.
So that's what really got me hooked into drugs for a long time. And then, of course, selling drugs only lasts for a little while for anybody who does them. The next thing you know, you ain't got nothing. You're bouncing house to house. You're stealing, whatever it looks like, going to jail multiple times, going to prison. And then one day, I got out of jail and I told my grandma. My she's a good woman. She's a real prayer warrior. She never gave up on me, but I don't know what I'd do without her.
Yeah.
And I told her, I said, Granny, if I get out and I get high, I'll go to rehab. I got out, at some point, like there's a part in you your whole life that wants to do good, and I believe that's the Lord pulling you. You might not know it at the time. I never did. But, like when you're a kid, you don't ever grow up and say, oh, I just want to be a drug addict my whole life, So finally I did it. I went to Teen Challenge in Missouri, and it was definitely a change. And most of it was good. Like they study you hard in the Bible, and that's when I really learned the characteristics of who God is. Like I didn't really have an encounter yet, but I was hungry. I got a seed in me, and I was studying, I was learning. I'm like, okay, Lord, if this is you, this is real, because you have doubts. Like, show me something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And slowly I'm starting to get like characteristics of the Lord that I've learned through the Bible, because I'm thinking if I'm going to do this, I need to practice what it says. See if anything changes. And then of course no rehab's perfect, and they work you real hard. And they're not the best mentors, but they're a really good place to get away from everybody, clear your mind, and just get focused in on what matters, on you.
Yeah.
You and the Lord,
Mm-hmm.
So I was probably 6 months in, and I'm like, Lord, I don't know if I can keep doing this rehab stuff. It's starting to get a little damaging. They kind of, the staff belittled me a little bit, and I didn't really like that. And I said, can I leave? And I'm like, oh. So I waited a day or two. He told me, son, if you stay or go, I'm going to be with you. I said, okay, that's good. Here we go. All right, I'm out. Granny, you're going to have to come get me. She wouldn't. Then my dad, he wouldn't come get me. Nobody'd come get me. But Granny, she said, as long as you promise me, if I come get you, you're not going to get high again, I said, all right, Granny, I promise. I told you if I got out and got high, I'd come here. I came here. I think I'm at a point where it's okay. The Lord told me it was okay. So she came and she got me, and I got back, and everything was good. Everything was great. I moved back in with my dad for a little while. My dad, he's sober now. He's been sober since I was probably 13. And, I'm really proud of him. He's came a long way. I mean, there's some spots that we still struggle with as relationship-wise. I don't feel like he still thinks I'm a priority, which is still damaging, but we're working on it. Yeah. So he let me move in with him. And my stepsister happened to live there too at the same time. And she was on drugs. And she was sneaking out. So one night, I've been there for probably a week. She decides she's going to sneak out, and she gets caught by my stepmom's sister. And then the story comes out like this. This is how it comes out. It's not true. The Ice and Kristen and Cody, they had snuck out, And I was mad. I was so mad. I was tore up. I was like, man, I ain't done nothing wrong. And you guys are telling me I did. Like, this is bull crap.
Yeah.
I was ready to go back. So the very next day, a preacher, which is my uncle, he's been long lost. But when I went to rehab, it's the same church that sent me to rehab that my uncle preaches at that I didn't know that I had. So he pulls me in his office the very next day. He's like, Cody, the Holy Spirit told me that I need to ask you if you want to come live with me. And that was my first real moment that I knew God was real. You can't just come up with that, Yeah. And I said, Jerry, it's funny that you say that, because tonight was the night that I was really going to sneak out and not come back,
Wow.
Then boom, I moved in with him. And this is just how cool the Lord is. So he did that. And then Jerry, he took me in. I mean, he took me in as his own. When I say he moved me in, he fed me. He didn't ask me for nothing. He told me about how awesome I was all the time. He taught me things I never knew. He showed me how to love. He really got me planted. And, it blew me away. He really got me in with the Lord. He told me that I was overthinking everything, that the Lord loves me, and it's that easy.
Yeah.
And I've been on fire ever since, And I'm thankful that the Lord put him in my life. It took one person that he put in my life to change me.
Wow.
And now I manage a store that he owns, and I get, and it's really cool. Through all this, the Lord has reconciled my relationship with my son who lived in California. I was married at one point before this, and it didn't work out too well.
Yeah.
And they lived in California, and I lived in Tennessee. But I wasn't sober 2 years, and they already moved back down here. I get to see them all the time. I have another daughter. I have a half daughter, which is my daughter, or stepdaughter, should I say?
Yeah.
So I got a huge family, man. So I went from living on the streets, bouncing house to house, and the Lord has brought my family back together. Restored my relationships. And there's no other answer for it other than the goodness of God.
Yeah. Man, it's incredible, brother. Man. Ooh. I just feel some of the energy inside of me, just hearing
Yeah.
that, man. So happy for you, brother. And it's crazy you started talking about your grandmother and I'm sorry, I'm horrible with names, but the gentleman that took you in, you said Jack, was it
Jerry.
Jerry? Sorry about that. Talk about him. The first question I had here was, who was someone that was the primary influence that helped that with that turnaround for you? So for you to say that, that's amazing. Because it sounds like from your story, you were somewhat searching for just acceptance.
Mm-hmm.
And so what was it about that acceptance from Jerry that led to that, what you are now, and to that, to actually receiving that acceptance?
Well, he's sincere. Like when I say he invested in me, like he would buy me clothes. He would no matter what he did, he thought about me. He took me to more restaurants that I've ever ate that are, decently nice. And it ain't
Yeah.
about the money. It's just the thought.
Yes.
You know what I mean? He pushed me to go to school. I went to a welding program and I graduated. He let me work. He bought a paint store and he let me work there
Yeah.
while I was going to school. And then um, he included me in all family events. There was never a gap. Like if he was doing it, he wanted me there. He wanted me to go to the gym with him, and he's still like that today.
Yeah.
And that's just, like that's incredible to me. I know he was one of the first people in my life that I know who loved me.
Whew. Brother, that hit me there. It's sad this had to be that way sometimes, I know a lot of people watching can say that first experience with love sometimes don't come from the people that you think that should love you unconditionally. And
Mm-hmm.
so, man, that's so awesome, and so happy for you on that, brother. So with this change in lifestyle that you now have, and the things you're building, when moments of feeling like you don't have that acceptance, or you have moments of stress, how do you cope with that now, being that you're no longer on that drug?
Well, to be honest, I do a lot of praying, and then I'll tell Jerry. Like transparency has kept me sober. If people want to know what keeps you sober, it's being honest. And when you have that person you can be honest with. If I get down, I'll say, Jerry, this person has ticked me. I am pissed off. I will tell him I am
Yeah.
pissed off. They have not done me right. Then he'll ask me. He'll say, Cody, are they worth stealing your joy?
Mm,
I'm like, he's like, and just give it to the Lord. He said, they ain't even worth it.
yeah.
You're mad, and all they're doing is robbing you. Are you going to let the enemy rob you like that?
Mm,
I'm like, dang, And then the same with my wife. I tell her, I'll come home, I'll be mad. And she'll be like, Cody? I'm like, what? She's like, is it that serious?
mm.
I'm like, well, I feel like it is. That's a big deal, man, having people in your life. And if I'm wrong, like I'll do, you go to people who you want to have your back, like, oh, they did this to me. Well, he'll tell me, like, well, you're dumb. Like, you shouldn't be mad. Like, it's your fault. And that's good to have. You don't want somebody to say, oh, yeah, they're just sorry. I can't believe they did that to you. He'll say, well, what are you going to do about it? Are you going to let it run your whole day?
Yeah.
And that's powerful.
Yes, indeed, man. That transparency is key in any dynamic, not just someone that's in recovery. It's You need that, whether in a relationship or your day to day. For me, it's one of the main things I even got from Quest.
Mm-hmm.
Having brotherhood, that I can be vulnerable with. It's something I have been seeking honestly my whole life and not really knowing it, because where I'm from, the church background I'm from, and my family dynamic, we held everything in, sweeping on the rug, some of the things that the motto for us was if it's in the house, it stays in the house, don't tell people your outside. I mean, your in-home business. Don't take that outside. So I learned how to hold things in very well. So but
Mhm.
that transparency, it it not only helps you to get it out, but it really puts that mirror up for you as well. It makes you to see sometimes before the other person said like how dumb it may be what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I want to ask you, brother. I know it may be on the spot here, but for yourself, do you have like a life motto, like something you live by that keeps you focused? Maybe if Jerry's not available, your wife not available, just something that brings you back to center.
Yeah, like I said, I do a lot of praying, and I mean, usually, luckily, I ain't been in the situation where I ain't had nobody very much.
Yeah,
But I always ask the Lord. I say, Lord, help me, show me something. Like I'm discouraged, I'm scared. What do I need to do? And I'm telling you, every time I do, somebody will call me and they'll
wow,
talk to me. Like, or they'll
yeah,
ask me, "How's your day?"
yeah,
And then, I'm really linked into the church now too. So I'm just surrounded by good people. And that's a big key too, is being surrounded by like-minded people who are actually for you. I
hmm,
mean, church is an easy place to get hurt, because people have a lot of false expectations that Christians are perfect.
yeah,
But man, when people really care, they try. And anytime anybody tries for me, it blows my mind because I ain't never had that.
hmm,
You know what I mean? Like just the littlest try just makes my day.
yeah.
you know?
Yes, indeed. Somebody coming up out of themselves just for the smallest things, like you said, can be so grand depending on
Hmm.
the situation. That's big, man. What do you believe is a driving force for your continued relationship with God? Because some people may, get what they need from God and just move on. Some people being a tight. They say somebody got a gun in their face. Lord, if you get me out of the situation, I'll never do it again. Then
Yeah.
5 days later, you back, doing whatever it was. What keeps you going with your relationship with God?
I'd say whenever I know that, some days that we're closer to the Lord than others. And when I get distance, things seem to get hard.
Hmm.
When things get hazy between me and him, things get hazy between me and everybody and everything.
Yeah.
So I don't know. When things start sucking, no matter what I do, it just sucks.
Right.
And then people start noticing. This is the cool part about being surrounded by people who care about you and they actually interact with you. So they know they'll come up to you, man, what's going on?
Mm,
Or, you're being awful quiet lately. You good? Like, you ever need to talk, just call me. And then,
yeah.
of course, my kids too, man. Family is a big deal. Like, I'm not a perfect parent, but I'd say I'm a pretty good dad. Like, I love my kids. They keep me in line. Like, I wouldn't do anything to lose them.
Yeah.
And I don't ever want them to feel like they're not worth it. I don't ever want them to feel like, dad's not got them because, we got to reflect the Lord. And either the Lord's a good dad or not a good dad. And
Yes,
he's a
sir.
good dad. There's no other option.
Yeah. Absolutely. And speaking of kids, I want to ask you, not particularly your kids, I'm sorry, but
Hmm.
if you think about yourself, the little Cody that was seeking that acceptance and wondering where the love is going to come from, if you had to have a conversation with yourself as a kid, what would you tell yourself?
I tell myself it ain't my fault. We tend to blame ourselves as a kid because we don't know. Like we know that our parents probably have some issues, but we don't. All we know is that they're not there for us. So it
Hmm.
must be us if they don't want to be around us. But really, it's not. It's not my fault.
Yeah, man. Super powerful, brother. Super powerful. Someone watching this very well may be in a position of either addiction or some sorrow in their life, or just feeling alone or feeling that lack of acceptance. If you had to put a practical first step out there, something, the initial step that they can take to possibly maybe have that recovery or just to find that acceptance, what would that be?
Well, I'd say maybe it's tough. I don't know if they have a support system. Obviously, you want to go to whoever you can trust, but the reality is, usually when they're in that situation, they don't have a very good support system.
Yeah.
But there's not really a good answer. The best answer I have, if you're surrounded by a lot of people that you don't want to be like anymore, you need to find a way out. And there's lots of ways you can do it. They have halfway houses, they have rehabs, and they're not exactly fun, but it's a fresh start. And fresh starts, they're good. I mean, change hurts though.
Yeah.
In any situation, change is going to hurt, but you got to get away from them chains, because that's all people are who aren't for you. They're trying to pull you back. So that's, my advice is get away somewhere you can focus on you and rebuild.
Yeah. How hard is that to get away?
It's hard. I've struggled with it a lot of times. Believe it or not, in my 10 years of addiction, I've tried to get sober a lot. And that was one of my biggest problems, is seeing how these people are the only love that I've ever really received, and I feel important around. It's hard to leave them, even though that that it's fake love. But it's hard, if you don't got real love. You think it would be easy. Somebody's using you, but boy, they're sure nice to you. It sounds like an easy choice, but when that's all you've ever wanted and they're giving it to you, it's hard to leave it.
Yeah. It's going to sound like a crazy example, but my audience is used to it, so I'm gonna go there. It's kind of like a man with a prostitute,
Yeah, that's exactly right.
I mean, you feel that love in that moment.
Uh-huh.
Your wife been nagging at you all day, so that don't feel like the real love, but she's giving you everything you need to feel validated in that particular moment.
Mm-hmm.
And you feel that is real. But, when you look at your bank account,
Yeah, that's
you
right.
realize now you're losing more than you're gaining,
Yeah, that's exactly right. But it takes you a long time to realize that, because you're just trying to fill this void.
Yeah.
That's exactly what you're doing. You're just trying to fill a void, and it's hard. It's hard to think that there's something better out there when you don't know of anything better, if that makes sense.
Absolutely does. Absolutely does. Man, so just kind of wrapping up here, brother. Man, it's been a joy to hear your story once again. A lot of details that I didn't know already that you shared. Want to ask you this, man. If you had a message of advice that you would like to convey, to the listeners as we wrap up today, just anything that's on your heart, just any final words that you may have.
Yeah, for sure, with anybody who's struggling with anything, man, just don't ever forget that you're worth it. Like it's hard sometimes, but you're worth it. There's ways you can get through it. You're strong, you're brave, you're powerful. Those are a big deal. That's the way the Lord made you.
Yeah.
You're not an accident. No matter who you are not an accident.
Brother, you light up every room you come in. Love you, man. It's just a joy, like I said, once again, being Quest with you. The things to hear the guys say, when you're not around, just to hear them saying great things about you, and just to see how we all got to experience that together, and you stood out.
I
You
appreciate
stood
that,
out, man. I love you, brother, man, and look forward to everything that's to come for you. Again, I'm going to say this publicly. Cody just married. He's part of the team.
Right.
Doing big things, him and his wife. So happy for you guys, man. Look forward to talking to you down the road, man.
Man, I appreciate it, and I love you, man. I'm just glad to see you.
Yes, sir.
Let's go.